Hollywood once sold us perfect love stories on the big screen. But behind the scenes, it was betrayal, obsession, and forbidden affairs. From secret babies to public scandals, these legendary stars broke all the rules and paid the price. Get ready to dive into the real love stories Hollywood tried to hide. Clark Gable, the king of Hollywood, was at the height of his fame when he filmed Call of the Wild in 1935. His co-star was Loretta Young, a 22-year-old rising star known for her beauty, charm, and deep Catholic faith. During filming in the snowy wilderness of Washington, something happened between Gable and Young. Loretta would never publicly describe it as a love affair. She became pregnant. Gable was married at the time. Loretta was unmarried, religious, and a major star under contract. A pregnancy out of wedlock could destroy her career. So, Loretta disappeared. In January 1935, she gave birth to a baby girl, Judy. The baby was quietly placed in an orphanage. Months later, Loretta returned to Hollywood and adopted her own child. As a devout Catholic woman in 1930s Hollywood, having a child with a married man was unthinkable. Clark Gable never publicly acknowledged Judy. The story of Loretta Young and Clark Gable isn't just about Hollywood scandal. It's about the impossible choices women had to make in a world that demanded perfection and punished truth. Vivian and Larry. This is the scandalous and heartbreaking tale of Hollywood's golden couple. Vivian Leigh was a rising actress with fierce ambition. Laurence Olivier was a Shakespearean actor on the verge of global fame. The moment they met, the attraction was electric. But there was one problem. They were both married. Vivian had a husband and young daughter. Olivier was married to actress Jill Esmond. But neither relationship stood a chance against the wildfire that had begun to spread. They tried to keep their affair quiet, but in theatrical circles, whispers spread fast. Friends begged them to stop. Studios warned them of scandal. But Vivian and Larry didn't care. They were obsessed with each other, creatively, emotionally, physically. By 1937, they were traveling together, sharing hotel rooms in secret, and performing together on stage with undeniable chemistry. In 1940, both finally divorced their spouses and married each other in California, just weeks after Leigh won the Oscar for Gone with the Wind. Hollywood couldn't get enough. Two of the most beautiful, talented actors in the world, madly in love. But behind the polished smiles were cracks already beginning to show. Vivian Leigh suffered from bipolar disorder. She would swing from moments of brilliance and laughter to deep depression and uncontrollable rage. Olivier tried to protect her. They acted together in films like That Hamilton Woman and Fire Over England, captivating audiences with their passion. But in private, their relationship was unraveling. After 20 years of passion, Laurence Olivier left Vivian Leigh. They divorced that year. Vivian was heartbroken. She never fully recovered. She continued acting brilliant as ever on stage, but her health declined. Her bipolar episodes worsened, and she struggled with tuberculosis. She died in 1967 at just 53 years old. Olivier, remarried with a new family, was devastated. He later said that even after all the pain, he had never stopped loving her. It was 1944 when Humphrey Bogart, the tough-talking star of Casablanca and The Maltese Falcon, met a 19-year-old model-turned-actress named Lauren Bacall on the set of To Have and Have Not. He was 44, she was half his age, and he was very much married. Bogart's marriage to actress Mayo Method was the stuff of tabloid nightmares. They fought constantly loud, violent arguments, fueled by jealousy and alcohol. Still, a divorce seemed unlikely. Then came Bacall. Bacall was nervous. It was her first film. She was a nobody, plucked from a modeling agency and handed a leading role next to one of the biggest stars in the world. But the moment she met Bogart, everything changed. There was electricity. He calmed her nerves, whispered jokes between takes, and somewhere between the cameras rolling and the lines being read, they fell in love. But it wasn't just a sweet love story, it was a scandal. In today's world, it would make headlines for all the wrong reasons. Even back then, whispers filled the studio halls. The press started asking questions, and Bogart's wife Mayo wasn't blind to what was happening. She was furious. Their affair had to stay quiet. Bogart was torn. He loved Bacall, but leaving his wife risked everything: his career, his reputation, and possibly half his fortune. For months, the relationship simmered behind closed doors. Love letters passed in secret. Late-night phone calls, stolen moments on set. Then, finally, Bogart made his choice. He filed for divorce. The news rocked Hollywood. They married in 1945 in a small, private ceremony. Despite the rocky beginning, their marriage became one of Hollywood's most iconic love stories. In 1957, Humphrey Bogart died of cancer. She never stopped loving him. For the rest of her life, she referred to him as Bogey and kept his memory close. What started as a scandal became a legend. The cameras were rolling on the set of Cleopatra, the most expensive film ever made at the time. Elizabeth Taylor was already a legend, Oscar-winning, stunning, and married to her fourth husband, singer Eddie Fisher. Richard Burton, the charismatic Welsh actor with a booming voice and volcanic charm, played Mark Antony. It began with playful flirting, then whispers, then long hours behind closed doors. Soon, the affair was undeniable. The two stars, each married to someone else, were inseparable, ignoring cameras, contracts, and consequences. In fact, the scandal exploded. Paparazzi camped outside their hotel rooms. The Vatican even issued a public statement condemning the affair, calling it erotic vagrancy. Headlines called them the most shameless lovers in the world. And still, they didn't stop. Elizabeth divorced Eddie Fisher. Richard left his wife of 14 years, Sybil Burton. And in 1964, the world's most infamous lovers finally married. They starred in 11 films together, including Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, where art imitated life. The fighting, the tenderness, the pain, it wasn't just acting. It was their truth, captured on film. They loved too hard, too loudly, too destructively. And after a decade of passion and chaos, in 1974, they divorced. But the story didn't end there. A year later, they married again. Yes, Elizabeth and Richard remarried in 1975, unable to stay apart. They divorced again less than a year later. 2 marriages, 2 divorces. But the love? It never really died. The world watched Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton fall in love, fall apart, and try again. In the 1940s, Ingrid Bergman was Hollywood royalty. The Swedish beauty with a noble presence had won hearts around the world with films like Casablanca, Gaslight, and Notorious. But when Ingrid followed her heart to Italy and into the arms of director Roberto Rossellini, the world didn't see romance. They saw betrayal. Ingrid Bergman was at the peak of her fame and trapped in a life that no longer felt like hers. Married to a Swedish doctor and mother to a young daughter, she was respected and adored by fans and filmmakers alike. But behind the scenes, she was searching for something more. After seeing Rossellini's neo-realist film Rome, Open City, Ingrid was captivated, not just by the story, but by the man who had created it. So she did something bold. She wrote him a letter. If you need a Swedish actress who speaks English very well, who has not forgotten her German, who is not very understandable in French, and who can only say ti amo in Italian, I am ready to come and make a film with you. Rossellini said yes. And just like that, her carefully built world began to fall apart. They met in Italy to film Stromboli in 1949. The chemistry between them was undeniable. Rossellini was passionate, artistic, unpredictable. Ingrid was drawn to his intensity, his raw approach to filmmaking and to life. During production, their affair began. There was just one problem. They were both married. By the time filming ended, Ingrid was pregnant with Rossellini's child. And when the news broke, it wasn't just a scandal. It was a firestorm. Back in America, fans were furious. The woman they had idolized as a symbol of purity and elegance was now labeled an adulteress. Church groups boycotted her films. The press called her immoral. And in the most shocking moment of all, Hollywood turned its back on her. Studio contracts dried up, and yet, Ingrid never apologized. She left her husband. She moved to Italy. And in 1950, she gave birth to a son. That same year, she and Rossellini married. For a time, it seemed like a defiant, romantic ending. They had 3 children together, including twin daughters. But life with Rossellini wasn't a fairy tale. He wanted her to be his muse, not a Hollywood star. Their films together were often critical failures. Ingrid missed the stage, missed the applause, missed being seen. By 1957, the marriage unraveled. She left Rossellini and returned to Hollywood older, wiser, and still scarred by the scandal that nearly destroyed her. But the industry hadn't forgotten her talent. In 1956, she won an Oscar for Anastasia, though she wasn't allowed back in the US to accept it. Ingrid Bergman's love for Roberto Rossellini cost her everything: her career, her reputation, her place in Hollywood royalty. But Chiani. Which love scandal shocked you the most? Was it forbidden, tragic, or just unforgettable? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this peek behind Hollywood's golden curtain, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with a friend who loves old school drama. More untold stories are coming soon.